And good morning, everyone. North Carolina's governor now calling it an attack on our democracy. A Republican office outside of Durham hit by a suspected firebomb over the weekend. No one injured, but there was serious damage to the building. It was also spray painted with graffiti that included a swastika.
This is a horrific act of political terrorism. One that we will not succumb to, and one that we will answer.
So far, no arrests, but both campaigns have responded. The Clinton team, the Trump team, some more on this story a bit later in the show today. First, though, we are 2 days until the final debate in Las Vegas, and the Trump team doubling down on accusations of a rigged election. Saying the media is working hand in hand with the Clinton campaign. That was a big message from over the weekend from Trump Tower. Good morning, everybody. As you can tell, we are not in Studio J. We are live at the Strip. I'm Bill Hemmer, MGM Graham, live in Las Vegas as we count down to the main event on Wednesday night. Trump versus Clinton, round 3. What's happening?
Pretty cool backdrop we brought in, right?
Yes.
No, it's the real deal. You know, they always say that the House rigs it, right? The House always wins in Las Vegas. So that's part of Donald Trump's theme at this stage of the election. As we get closer to this debate, Donald Trump very much digging in on this narrative, shall we say. His team is accusing the media as a whole of declaring open season on the Republican nominee.
Once again, the media is piling on with unsubstantiated claims as the headlines, while they ignore an avalanche of hard evidence about corruption, pay-to-play, political favoritism emanating out of Hillary Clinton's years as Secretary of State.
So the candidates, where are they today? On the trail, Donald Trump's in Wisconsin. His running mate is in Ohio and in Michigan. Senator Tim Kaine is in Maryland, and Hillary Clinton off the trail, getting ready for the debate on Wednesday night.
Fox team coverage, Byron York is here with us on the balcony in Las Vegas. But we begin with John Roberts, who is outside Trump Tower in New York City. John, good morning to you. Donald Trump really doubling down on this, continuing to claim that he believes this election, due to a number of factors, is rigged against him.
Martha, good morning to you. Yes, this is an argument that he used to great effect back in the primary process. You'll remember saying that the party had rigged the system against him. Why was he winning all of these states? And then Ted Cruz was coming up with all the delegates. It's the same case that he made for Bernie Sanders on the Democratic side. But now Donald Trump suggesting the entire system is rigged, including the actual process of casting votes. Tweeting just a few minutes ago, quote, "Of course, there is large-scale voter fraud happening on and before Election Day. Why do Republican leaders deny what is going on? So naive." You heard that Donald Trump was making the case that the media, according to him, was in collusion with the Clinton campaign to try to give the election to her. He is also encouraging at events his supporters to go out on Election Day to these polling places, hang around, and make sure that there's no funny business going on. While members of his campaign from the top to the bottom are pushing this idea of the media being in collusion with the Clinton campaign and try to do that very effectively, they are dialing back on this idea that the voting itself is rigged. Listen to what Rudy Giuliani said yesterday.
When he talks about a rigged election, he's not talking about the fact that it's going to be rigged at the polls. What he's talking about is that 80 to 85% of the media is against him. That when you look at the New York Times and you pick it up every morning, on the top of the paper, there are 3 stories that are anti-Trump. Some of them totally baseless, some of them silly.
It would appear, though, Martha, that since he made that statement that, yes, Donald Trump is talking about it being rigged at the polls, and almost in the same breath that Giuliani was saying that we don't think that the election is rigged at the polls, he said, well, plenty of dead people vote, and most of those dead people, history shows, vote for the Democratic Party. Martha?
Remember that happening in Chicago years ago and in Texas as well in LBJ's election, so it has happened before. So Donald Trump, in terms of his preparation for this debate, what does that look like, John?
Well, he spent all day yesterday out at his home in Bedminster, New Jersey, doing debate prep. In fact, it went much longer than even members of his campaign had expected that it was going to. I talked to a couple of people in the campaign who say that he was working very hard, that they're just, formulating some answers. He's going to do more debate prep today before heading to a campaign event in Green Bay, Wisconsin. He wants to keep it all on policy. He wants to attack Hillary Clinton very much in the same way he did at the town hall debate a week ago Sunday. But the problem is he's going to get asked about all of these allegations brought forward by all of these women. He has to have a good answer for that, and apparently he doesn't yet have that answer where he can kind of take that off the table and then get back onto policy. But his running mate, Mike Pence, thinks he's going to go do a good job on Wednesday night. Here's Pence from yesterday.
Donald Trump won that debate last Sunday, and he's going to win the debate on Wednesday because he's going to keep talking about the issues that matter most to the American people and the chance that we can make a change of the fundamental direction of this country back to a stronger and more prosperous nation.
So he's pretty much just got today for formal debate prep because he's got 2 events in Colorado, Colorado Springs and Grand Junction tomorrow, and then it's debate day, Martha. So everybody's looking forward to see how he does on Wednesday night. Back to you.
Down in the polls and a lot riding on the next few days for him. John, thank you.
I want to bring in Byron York now, chief political correspondent for the Washington Examiner and a Fox News contributor with us here on floor 28. This view is for you, Byron. Good morning to you. Trump's challenge, let's take his first and then we'll get to Clinton. His challenge this week on Wednesday night is what?
Well, it's his last best chance to impress voters that and give them the idea that he has the temperament to be president. The huge number that he is so far behind on is, which candidate do you believe has the right temperament to be president? In the latest Fox poll, if you looked, about 2/3 of the voters say Hillary Clinton has the right temperament, and about 2/3 of the voters say Donald Trump does not. They get that idea by watching him on the debate stage. He has a chance to change that impression.
John Roberts just spoke about the women issue and the other accusations that came forward after the video, which in some ways were more damaging than the video itself. Sure. If his advisors, what should they be telling him about the best way to pivot and get off of that? Because we know Donald Trump, and he starts to sort of spiral deeper in instead of jump and move on.
Well, you just hit it. He's already kind of gotten deeply in by denying them, all of them. He didn't say, well, maybe that was a different time. There were different standards of behavior. I did some things I really wouldn't do today. He didn't say that. He said they're all lies. He could look at some politicians who have faced groping allegations before. Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was running for governor of California, managed to get past several allegations. But right now, I think his advisors are saying the best thing to do is pivot to issues, because you actually do well when you talk about trade, immigration, and other issues.
We had 2 big polls come out on Sunday. ABC's got Clinton up 4. NBC Wall Street Journal has Clinton up 11. You say that this suggests that this election is still 22 days away, volatile.
It is still volatile. I mean, when you have one poll that says a 4-point lead for Clinton, another that says an 11-point lead for Clinton, I mean, what does that say? One, it says Clinton is ahead. I think there's no doubt about that right now. But it tells you that people are kind of all over the place on this. They may feel one thing on one day and another thing on another day. Trump's problem is that even if Clinton is really ahead by 4 points, that could mean a solid electoral college victory for her. But I think it does indicate that there are still persuadables out there.
There's a mushy middle, whether it's 4 points or 6 points or more or less, don't know. Her challenge this week is what?
She has virtually disappeared from the campaign trail. Have we been reporting very much about Hillary Clinton rallies? I mean, she's not having them. Bill Clinton's doing them, Barack Obama is doing them, Michelle Obama's doing them, but not her. I think basically there's this, Hillary Clinton has always throughout her career had a tendency to really play it safe, to want to not take any risks at all. So I think you're going to see her in super play it safe mode. I'm here, I'm standing, I'm sober, and this guy's crazy. I think that's basically her strategy.
I think you're right. We will see at the big showdown in a couple of nights from now. Byron, thank you. We'll see you a lot over the next couple of days. Good to have you with us here. All right, so for the first time ever, a Fox News anchor will be the moderator for this huge general election moment. Our friend and colleague, award-winning journalist Chris Wallace, will moderate the final matchup between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. The stakes could not be higher for these two candidates. Their last face-off set for Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, live from the campus of the University of Nevada here in Las Vegas. And boy, will a lot of people be watching this. It may be the last chance for many people that they get to see these two in action.
Burke started writing scripts for Media Buzz about the number of women who have made accusations of sexual misconduct against Donald Trump, which he, of course, vehemently denies as a bunch of horrible lies and is blaming the media for carrying and trumpeting these accounts. And then, just as I was getting ready to go on Happening Now, about 10 minutes before, I get an email and I click to the Washington Post website, and there is a video and a story about a new woman who has a similar allegation. Back in the 1990s, this woman says she was seated next to Donald Trump at a nightclub, didn't even look at the guy, didn't know who it was. Suddenly she felt a hand up her skirt, this woman says. And by the time that Trump took the stage at a rally a little bit later, he actually referenced this report and added it to his list of denials. And then went back to my desk, and so this is maybe an hour later, and on another channel whose initials are MS, noticed, and Fox later carried it as well, I noticed that there was a woman with Gloria Allred, the celebrity lawyer who often represents women with charges of sexual misconduct or rape or sexual harassment, and she was telling the tale. This is a former celebrity apprentice contestant, how she tried to get a job with Donald Trump, and according to this woman's account, he had tried to kiss her, and he had groped her, and she still tried to get a job, and then he blew her off and all of that. Now, the reason I go through this point by point is that media are just absolutely awash in this stuff. It is utterly dominating the campaign, not just overshadowing, any comparable stories about Hillary Clinton. When I say comparable, I mean WikiLeaks or anything related to her campaign. In fact, she's staying out of the limelight, getting ready for the next debate, and then allowing this Trump story to seize all the headlines. But it's really dominating just about any other kind of news. Now, it's my feeling that if you've got women who are willing to be on the record, on camera, if they provide the names of any friends or neighbors or family members that they confided in at the time to show some corroboration, that these are legitimate stories to pursue in the wake of Trump saying in that Access Hollywood tape that he now dismisses as locker room talk that he groped women, but he says that was an exaggeration. Here are women saying, in my case at least, it was not an exaggeration. At the same time, there is something troubling, to me at least, about all of the relentless attention this is getting and all of the white-hot focus on it, and all the women who have chosen to come forward only in the final weeks. Now, I understand women not wanting to talk at the time. They don't want to be fired. They don't want all the attention. They don't want to be attacked. I'm not questioning their motives in any way. But the fact that so many of them are coming out now on the eve of an election raises fair questions as to whether or not there is, not coordination, because I don't see any evidence of that, but just sort of a piling on effect. And finally, all of this media attention on something that's important, it goes to presidential character, is completely obliterating any discussion of taxes and jobs and health care and terrorism and all things that affect the lives of millions and millions of average Americans. And so I just worry as we pursue this story, legitimate story though it is, and try to find the truth in these disputed incidents, whether or not we have somehow allowed this election to go into the tabloid gutter to a point where what's being debated, Bill Clinton's accusers, Donald Trump's accusers,